Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. Sorry about the hiatus. I'm sure you all understand given the circumstances. I've been sitting on a bunch of episodes just waiting for this all to be over, but who knows when that's going to be, So I'm going to post a series of pre-quarantine episodes. So some of it will probably be irrelevant. Some of these jobs might not exist anymore. Some of them will be vastly different. So just for the sake of putting stuff out there, I'm going to have probably 10 or 15 episodes, just all from probably the summer of 2019 to, say, Christmas maybe. So with that in mind, that's the tone for the show. So if we're not mentioning anything about the pandemic because it hadn't happened yet. So maybe this will take things off your mind and make you think back to when stuff was normal. On this episode, we have an assistant facilities manager, and a pretty interesting job. I liked it a lot. I think you'll like the episode. As per usual, you can find us on social media at TakeMeTYD and at TakeMeTYD@gmail.com. Normally I'd say if someone wanted to be on an episode, but who knows how that's gonna go. But regardless of any of that, enjoy the show and our new logo that we got done. So hope you dig it.
My current title is Assistant Facilities Manager and Corrigo Platform Analyst. Usually in the world of my firm, it's just AFM CPA.
Okay. Now, if you were to run into someone at a party and you wanted to give them the concise answer of what you do, what would you tell them?
I do facilities for a commercial real estate firm.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we'll get into that, but I first want to go into let's say high school. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do when you were in high school?
I think I wanted to be. I remember when I was 5, I wanted to be a farmer.
Okay.
And then by 10, I wanted to be a radiologist for no reason. I don't think I even knew what it was.
These things just sprung into your head, or people around you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my mom once told me that radiologists make a lot of money, and she'd be a proud mother if she had one. So I was like, maybe that's what I'll do, and I put that on my 10th grade. This is what I'll do when I grow up. Form when you graduate. Perfect. My mom was like my little radiologist, but no. By high school, I think I just wanted to do theater.
Theater?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is that something you pursued in high school? Is something involved with the school? Something outside of the school?
Inside and sometimes outside. But I was always very into theater as a kid. But in high school specifically, I did high school musicals. I got my degree in theater history and German. And then I practiced theater semi-professionally.
Now, when you say you got a degree, are we jumping into
college?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's stop it in high school. You graduate, and what is your thought? You're just I'm going to go to college for theater?
Yeah, I think I like the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Why not learn more about it? I don't really think I knew what I wanted to do though.
But it's still good to, that's what I like to dig for in this, is you at least had some kind of direction that you were I like this, I want to pursue this.
Absolutely.
I love that. I'm very jealous of people that have that.
It was a combination of English and literature and history, and that combined in my love for period pieces and all that stuff. So I think that's what informed my love of theater, and that later also informed specifically what I fell into when I did theater outside of just the term in air quotations.
Okay, so all right, let's jump right into college then. Where did you go, and how did you get started?
I went to the same school that my twin applied to.
Yeah.
And we went to Guilford College in North Carolina, and I figured, they've got a good theater program, or at least I've heard it's a good theater program, and I still don't know what I'm going to do. I think at that time I wanted to be an actor, actually, which is ironic because I hated acting when I was in high school. And the theater studies department was a very, very small, tight-knit group. Maybe I want to say 20 people at most, with 3 main professors. Even though, it was a small liberal arts school, but it's, you still expect the department to be at least 30 people, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
But no, it was pretty small. My graduating class alone was 12, 13 people.
Okay.
Yep.
And you pursued that straight through. There wasn't any kind of like deviation or like,
No.
I like this aspect of it. I'm gonna go just
No, yeah.
straight through.
I went straight into it, and I didn't know what I wanted to minor in, so I did German on the side just to kind of see what would happen. But yeah, just kept plowing through with the intention of doing theater, whatever that meant.
Is there something that drew you to German? Because I took it too, but I can't really find a reason why I did.
Everyone in college likes to talk about Brecht and how interesting it is, and I feel like everyone has a quote-unquote Brecht period. Do you know who Bertolt Brecht is?
I know the name, but
German playwright from the 1940s, 50s maybe. I don't want to butcher it, but he moved to America after a very successful career in Germany. And I think at the time I wrote a paper about like what translations, like I found two versions of the same play. One was the roughly translated from German into English script, and then there was the English script, which was like, this is the one that, like, this is what we will perform, this is what we versus this is what we will just read. And that was when I thought, why not, give it a shot. Seems like a cool language. My mom was not happy about it.
All right, so that sounds like you had a pretty straightforward college path. So you graduate, now what? What's your thoughts?
Shoot, what did happen? I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I should say before that, I was not an actor. I did theater history and dramatic criticism. So I was the researcher. So I went in as a scholar, and I left wanting to do more scholarship.
Okay.
So when I first left, my goodness, I want to say, what happened? I do remember certain projects, but I don't remember what happened immediately after I left. So I fell into a couple community theater projects. I fell into a pretty good theater company for a couple plays that promoted new playwrights. That I met some cool people by working with them and helping revise and draft their pieces. And then I fell into this like stupid directing gig because of a stage management gig that I did. So I was kind of all over the place. Directing, dramaturgy, translating. I did a little bit of teaching towards the tail end of me doing theater. Nothing serious, but no acting as much as I thought I would.
If it wasn't your thing, then why pursue it?
Exactly.
But we should also add that you were not only bouncing around there, but you bounced around, because you're from Maryland, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so grew up in Maryland, went to college in, what was it?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. And then, where are you going after college? You stay in North Carolina? Did you go back to
I go back home.
Okay. And what do you do in that kind of transitional period where you're realizing that what this theater career is?
I think I remember getting a job at the mall and getting into daily conversations with my dad wherein he would argue that what I went for in school does not necessarily, like, what I went for in school does not dictate what I'm going to make a living off of.
Yeah.
And that it's time to put things into priority and, turn my profession, quote unquote, into more of a hobby, which really didn't sit well by me, and I kept trying to do stuff.
It's a very dad conversation.
Yeah, it's totally, absolutely. But I still pursued it. But I never made it my primary means to make money.
Okay, so you get a job at the mall. Let's kind of just go from there to bring us up to now. Just give us the beats of...
Yeah, I moved to Pittsburgh. I stopped doing theater. Not necessarily because I had a bad thing happen. I had a couple really good projects, some fun projects, very I've always wanted to have one of those lives where you could talk about something that you did and be like, yeah, I did it, but it wasn't that great. So I moved to Pittsburgh.
What prompted that?
Friends from college, from the same department, had moved there, so we all moved up in Regent Square.
Okay.
And somehow I found my way into a temp agency.
As you do.
Yeah, as one does. Well, I got into a car accident, and then the car that I was using for my job, I could no longer do. So I was like, all right, time to find something else. Temp agency finds me a job at a call center for the firm I now work at. And it was what it is. It trains people well to understand the company, and people who want to do well tend to make the effort and get noticed.
So once you get that foot in the door, you can kind of work your way up to.
My company loves to hire internally, and they're always into what they call HVT, high value talent. So they're very enterprising about that.
All right, I just want to back up one more second, just because it's just something I'm very interested in about your past. You were doing the thing where you go to clubs and
yeah.
Tell us about that
sure.
a little bit, just to touch on it, because that always interests me.
Yeah. The car. I needed the car because I worked for. I never know what to call it. I always called it a brand ambassador company. It's a company that promotes tobacco products.
Right.
So you don't actually work for the company that creates and promotes, that literally markets the product, but you're a third party company that is given product and talks to people in bars about it, but you can only talk to smokers. You can't talk to non-smokers unless they consent to speak with you.
How does that conversation go?
If they tell you don't smoke, you have to disengage, because you don't want to paint the perception that a cigarette company is promoting non-smokers to begin smoking.
No, I get that part, but where you said like the consent, unless they consent, what is that situation like?
They either have to be older than 21 and an active smoker. In a non-smoking bar, you would have to ask everybody, actually, and then they would. If they said yes, you could engage. If they didn't say, well, thank you very much, I appreciate it, have a good day. In a smoking bar, you just approach people who were smoking, and generally they wanted to talk to you anyway. So consent was very easy, and it was a very mutually attractive.
Yeah, because you're
engagement.
Getting freebies, basically.
I got my numbers up, and they got their coupon. And it was interesting. That was one of the first jobs I got when I moved here, and I got to know the city pretty intimately because I drove all over. I drove all over. The scope of, the amount of just where my car tires were, like the number of places. I would say there isn't a neighborhood in our area within 100 miles that I haven't been to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, was that part of the temp agency thing?
No, the temp agency thing was different.
Okay, so how did you get involved with that? That's kind of
with the temp agency?
No, with the brand ambassador.
Oh, they were advertising on Craigslist.
Really?
And I was working at a salon at the time, and I didn't like it very much. And then I saw that they paid pretty well. Said you had to have your own car, which generally means you're making money. And I applied, and they generally let anybody in who isn't a total, deranged introvert.
Yeah, I feel like that. Just a standard interview process to figure that out? Or,
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, basically. You
can figure out if you're a weirdo in 5 minutes, probably.
Here's the policy. You stick to a schedule. You follow a pretty much pseudo-prompt. They're saying this to you directly. Like, imagine if I'm looking right at them. And just so you know, we might drug test you, we might not. Just so you know. And you have to have your own car all the time. Otherwise, you can't have it. You can't have this job, and you'll never be full-time.
Got it. And as far as that, because I'll put a nice little button on this and then we'll move on. So just at the beginning of whatever your quote-unquote shift would be, they just give you like, here, you need to go to this place, and this place? Or is it just like, this is your spot for the evening?
I would say that we individually had our own quote-unquote spots, but generally we were given like a route where you would know what neighborhood you were breaching based on the bars that they were covering.
Okay.
But if you were favored, I suppose, like I always got like the downtown bars. I always got the ones in Shady Side.
Yeah.
It was always like that really long stretch. I knew I'd get because they knew I'd get a lot of people. Because it would be a fun route for me and it wouldn't be that hard of a sell.
Gotcha.
Right. Good times. Good times.
I love those weird one-off jobs. Those fascinate me. So let's get into your actual job right now. So you've explained what you are. Let's go through the day.
Sure.
So what time do you wake up in the morning?
When I'm in the office, I wake up at 5.
At 5. Did you set an alarm for that?
I have several alarms.
Yes. Give me the morning routine.
I should actually go back and talk about the night before because that's how I prepare for everything.
Okay, yeah, let's go into that.
So I have my coffee ready to go. I have it all scooped in and with the timer set for 5:05. I have a bowl out with oatmeal and various toppings ready to go. Pop in the microwave in the morning.
Is it like an overnight oats thing, or just like you just have it set?
No, it's a packet of oats with just I pour water in before I hit the shower.
Gotcha.
My protein shake's already made. My lunch is already made. My bags are already packed. Clothes for after the gym are in there. Shoes, laptop case, everything is all ready to go.
So you're prepped.
Yeah. Totally. And I, even to the point to where the items that I keep in my coat pocket never leave my coat pocket when I get home from work sometimes, because they just go straight, they stay there until I have to pick them up the next morning.
No, I like that. I have a lot of that same things. Like this, everything in its right place.
Yeah. And usually before, if I'm going out that night, like the night before I'm going out, I have to make sure that's all ready, because I don't like to worry about that not being available to me when I want to have a successful morning. So yeah, I wake up at 5. I have a bedtime it's like a bedtime iPhone alert. It's a very gentle alarm that wakes me up at like 5 o'clock. And then I have a little bit more serious alarms.
Yeah, okay.
The crescendo of the alarm is this extremely loud coffee maker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's at 5:05?
Yeah.
All right. So you have 5 minutes of alarms that. All right.
I mean, I still go to sleep, and sometimes I find that I wake up at 5:30, but I scramble and I get it done anyway because I got everything done the night before.
Perfect. All right. So you jump out of bed, you got your coffee going, you got your oats going. Take
Shower.
a shower.
Come out, put on gym clothes, wait around for the bus that leaves at the same time every morning at 6:13. I leave the house.
6:13.
Yep.
All right.
Catch the bus, get downtown, hit the gym, change into work clothes, come to the office, drink my shake.
Okay. Now during that commute time, do you listen to anything?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure do.
Give me a little bit.
It's divided up into two different things. It's when I'm going to work, when I'm leaving work.
Yeah.
When I'm going to work, it's music. When I'm leaving work, it's podcasts.
Okay, so let's focus on the going into work part.
Yep.
What are you listening to? Give me a couple of
God.
hitters.
Well, recently I've been listening to quite a variety. Carly Rae Jepsen's new album.
It's very good.
Which is quite a banger.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Wolfpack.
You told me about that.
And Anderson .Paak. I would say those are the 3 ones that I'd listen to the most. With a bit of soul and funk.
Just peppered in there.
Yeah, exactly. That's usually in the morning, and it takes about 15 minutes, so I get some good hits in.
Okay, so let's go from the bus to the gym. How long are you spending at the gym?
Hour 15, if I'm lucky.
Okay, so you're getting out there when exactly?
So you're
dressed for the job.
So I leave at 6:15. I get to the office first. I drop off my bag, throw my throw my perishables in the refrigerator, and
wait a minute. You said 6:15. I thought the bus came at
6:13. I get in at 6:13. The bus comes in. I'm sorry, it takes me there. 6:30 is when I come in. So it's a 15-minute commute.
Okay.
6:15 to 6:30, or I leave at 6. I leave here at 6:13 in the morning.
Okay.
The bus gets into downtown at between 6:28 and 6:30.
Okay, now I'm getting it. Then you go to the gym, and then when are you leaving the gym?
8 o'clock, maybe a little bit later, because I'm usually aiming to get to the gym by 6:40, so I can have time to do everything I want to do.
Okay, so when do you have to be at the office? When do you
Whenever.
When do you shoot for?
I don't usually like to be there later than 8:15.
Okay. All right, now I'm seeing the window a little bit better. Okay, so you get to the building. Is this, you're up on one of the high rises? Give me the beats of showing up at the building and getting in it.
I love my building. I think it's rather humor. It's like it's almost an ego thing to me, which I find really funny. Our name is my company's name is on the very, very tippity top of the building, but we're only 3 floors, and everything below us is a parking garage for the hotel next to us. So it just feels very like self-aggrandizing, which is why it feels so glamorous. Taking your car key and swiping your badge as you walk in, and these those doors that you see at the subway or at the metro. Yeah, they're like clear plastic though, and they open and they take you to the elevator that's been designated to take you up to your floor. So it feels very luxurious when in fact, why is it cold? Because you're above. Why is your office cold? Because you're above a parking garage.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so you get in there, you get on your floor. What are the first moves? What are the first kind of actions you have to take?
Get my shake, drink it.
Got it.
Open up my computer if there's anyone around, because usually there's not a lot of people around. I'm usually sitting around my own in this open space. We bullshit for a little bit, but I start drinking my shake and pulling my morning reporting.
Okay, now so it's not like a cubicle situation, it's like a big open air?
I mean, they're cubicles, but like...
Well, that's what I mean, paint me a picture, let me,
long aisles, or long rows, and they have slight dividers, which are mere. I mean, obviously, like you have your space. It's a rising and standing desk, but they've got like little end caps on each side, which dictate like this is where your workplace ends, but it still feels very open.
That's nice, and it's nice you get the standing desk.
Yeah,
that's cool. I know it's a big thing now. A lot of people talk about that. Big fan.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you open your laptop and you start doing, what was it?
Morning reporting. So I send an email out to vendors who have work orders in our system whose metrics are coming up in the next 48 hours. So if they have to do something by then, I let them know.
Okay, so elaborate a little bit on what you mean by vendors.
Sure, yeah. So facilities management for the company that I work. Am I allowed to say that?
I'm going to censor it. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, great.
You can say anything you want. I'll fix it later.
Awesome. So the facility side of things, we support a client who is in need of services in whatever way that might be. Specifically, what I mean to say is within the context of a lease. You know, what is facilities
real
management
estate
required to?
services.
Yeah, you know, toilet's broken, you send someone to go fix it. But we represent the tenant. So we do interior repairs. Okay. And make relationships with landlords to facilitate out exterior or landlord or foundation-based repairs.
Well, see, now that's strange because that's the opposite of what I would have thought. I would have thought you'd represent the landlords. So how do you represent the tenants?
So the tenants, we do things that, so, I mean, there's a tenant rep broker, which is on the sales side, but a facilities manager, I always call the tenant rep. It's my term for it because if a woman for the company that I work with, Cheryl, calls me and says that her sink is broken, I'm going to go send someone to take care of her sink.
Yeah. If
someone takes a shit outside of the building, I'm calling her landlord.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's a roof leak, I'll call the landlord.
Yeah.
If the HVAC's down, depending on the responsibility, whether it falls to us or to them, I'll be making some calls to either someone else's company or my own.
Yeah.
But usually it's like we have our shared team of engineers and we have third-party vendors and we manage those people and they all have work orders in a system that I manage, that I oversee, because every account has a different variation on the same theme in terms of the configuration of this website that we used, which is like I've been told it's similar to Salesforce.
Okay.
But I've never used it before. But maybe others have.
Yeah, you're not missing out. Salesforce is terrible.
Yeah. That's what I've heard a lot of people say. But so I use that system to tell me what work orders are going to be due and who it belongs to. Okay. So I send formatted emails that come through a template, like I created a template in Outlook, and I have an Excel form that I populate and edit, format a little bit to make it look a little bit nicer, and inform them that their due dates are coming up.
Okay.
That's my morning, usually. And then I kind of wait for something to happen. Because generally, we're not going to... I mean, of course, there are small projects. There are things that we work on. There's innovations that we try and figure out. There's ongoing issues or ongoing methods of support to provide. But generally, we just kind of sometimes just wait for someone to say something's going on. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I picture in that kind of setting, which is always another one of those things that seems strange to be in an office. But you also said you work from home sometimes.
Yeah, so and all my accounts are across the nation, or rather, all my buildings that I manage for this account are all across the nation.
All right. Well, for the sake of this, let's stick with the office just to get through.
Sure.
Because I'm genuinely curious about how
I tend to get ahead of myself.
How you work at the at home as well, because I'm sure there's like routines involved in that.
Sort of, yeah. So when I'm in the office, it's business casual.
Okay.
I'm much more. I try to be more aware of what I'm wearing, of course, because I'm not home alone. When I'm working from home, I wear whatever I want. I kind of get up a little bit closer to 7:30, because if I'm working from home, I'm not working out that morning.
All right, we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Let's just crush through the whole day here. So that's what your morning looks like. What are you doing, let's say, from that point up until around lunch? Is it the waiting around, or is it?
No, it's not a lot of waiting around. It's follow up on existing issues, speaking with vendors about issues, or not even issues, just projects, because there's always ongoing projects. I don't think there's really ever been a day where my checklist has ever been like there's a project that I've been working on since I started the job a year and a half ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just one of those things that there's always going to be something, but ultimately there's going to be something more pressing than that.
Yeah.
So, for example, this week, everything fell by the wayside because my sites had their HVAC coils stolen from them.
Really?
Yep. So, are you familiar with the HVAC system?
I am, but are they copper?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was gonna say, why would you steal it?
So there was a plaza in Texas that they all, like a bunch of tenants that didn't have caged in HVAC units on the roof, they had all of their condenser coils stolen.
Wow.
That is a job that it's such a hassle because you immediately lose heating and cooling abilities. I mean, of course, you probably just have heating abilities because if there's a lot of people in a building and it's 90 degrees, radiant temperature and body heat tends to raise regular temperature set points pretty high. But it's so expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
Replacing the coils is more expensive than replacing the actual unit.
I could see that. And that's why people steal them, because they have value.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes people were saying, like, it could be done so professionally that it makes you wonder whether it's another professional mechanic who's like, I don't want to spend $29,000 on my own coils. Like, maybe I'll just steal this guy's or all these people's. But then again, if multiple people got theft.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty professional junkies out there.
Yeah.
Once they figure out their gig, they got it.
Exactly. But no,
it's sad, but kind of fascinating.
No, it is interesting. I agree. And it makes you... The funny thing is there's always that little side conversation that you have about every project. Whether it be like, there's this homeless man that's like hanging around the back and scaring the hell out of the supervisor. Or like it makes you wonder, like, what's up with him?
Yeah.
Scenario one, you hear the Law and Order, dun dun. This situation where some shady guy is stealing stuff. We had a roof gutter that was filled with tin cans.
Tin cans?
Yeah. And there were jokes for a couple days where it was like, oh, it must have been raining cans. And I was like, no, it was two asshole kids smoking cigarettes and riding their bike and nanny boo-booing everybody and shoving their gutters up with tin cans. Yeah, it's pretty absurd. But that's one of my favorite things about it is like this like gossip or the intrigue around the things that go wrong.
Of how because my mind flooded with all the different ways that could happen. Like, a bunch of kids like drinking on the roof, or are they just like throwing cans up there, or I could picture a bunch of shitty 16-year-olds doing all of that. So
yeah, scaling some like regular plaza building in California.
Yeah, seeing if I can roll this can up and fall right in the gutter.
Oh my god, but it was so many cans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're talking loads of cans, like spaghetti and like oh god, what's that? What was that book about raining food?
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah, very much that, but with tin cans.
Yeah, they didn't take out the meatballs. They just kept them in the can.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so lunchtime, I guess. When are you taking lunch?
Usually noontime, 1 o'clock. But I have a snack in between. I usually have I quote unquote I have a snack at 10 o'clock every morning.
All right, what is said snack?
It's yogurt and almonds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a healthy snack.
Mm-hmm.
So
but lunch is noon.
Lunch is noon or 1. Are you leaving, or is it something you eat at your desk?
I eat at my desk, or I find somewhere fun to sit. But usually I'm sitting at my desk, even if I'm in a way and I'm just looking at my phone while I'm eating my lunch. Mm-hmm. But generally I'm working through lunch.
Now, is that something you pack, or is there somewhere close by?
I usually pack. If I'm buying something, it's a different story, but I generally pack my own lunch.
All right, let's do both. What do you usually pack? And if you do splurge and go out there, what do you get?
Oh, I don't splurge. I bring my own lunch, and then I go to like Le Gourmandine and get a pastry, and that's my idea of splurging. But my lunch is usually, I don't know if you know what Bird's Eye is. Most people know what Bird's Eye is. It's
the brand?
Yep, the brand Bird's Eye. They have a zucchini lentil noodle it's got like 26 grams of protein in a bag, but it's also pure vegetable. Yeah. So I can have half a bag of that with some kind of protein and some kind of vegetable. Okay. And that's been my format for a couple years now.
Yeah, it's not a bad format.
Yeah, no, it's great. You can switch it up. It's got different... This is not a promotional ad. It's not a promotion. But yeah, no, it's a great way to fill a meal in.
Yeah.
And that's generally how I've been... I mean, up until recently, I've been using that for both meals. So I go through a bag a day, which got a little expensive. So it's nice to be able to have a part of that already made. And generally, I meal prep everything. So when I'm actually making my meals, it's all just taking a spoon and sloshing it into another smaller container.
Yeah, brilliant. I like it. Beauty in its simplicity. So after lunch, what else we got going on?
More waiting, and I mean,
Right.
but I'm not waiting. I don't want to convey that to people, because what I do is just consistent support for multiple properties in order to help a company operate efficiently.
So essentially, it's more of the same for the rest of the day.
Yeah, unless you're actively. But the thing I also want to say is, there's no 2 days alike.
I love this aspect of it, and that's the reason why I wanted to say more of the same. Is that we can get into like the nitty gritty of like just some specific stories, or do you guys do meetings? Like, do you have like conferences like in the office? Do you have to be
sometimes
somewhere?
in the office, a lot on the phone.
Okay.
A lot on the phone, a lot through a WebEx, which is like a video meeting program that no one ever uses video for because they think it's funny. And everyone who works from home wears their pajamas anyway. Yeah. So why would they want to show that off? So a lot of meetings throughout the day, touch points with vendors, weekly touch points with vendors, weekly touch points with my client, weekly touch points with my manager.
It's a weekly thing? It's not like a daily... Like, do you have managers?
I talk to my manager
about,
every
like,
day.
Okay, yeah.
I do talk with her. But in terms of like, if we're speaking of professional growth and we're speaking of, let's talk through like lessons learned from this one thing that we did, or how is your training and development coming for this one thing that you were assigned that you mentioned 2 weeks ago that someone said you had to do.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
I get that, and I mean that's kind of what I meant by the constant, like no 2 days the same.
Yep.
That. I'm trying to think of this from like the management end of it, because you seem very independent is what I was getting at. Your gig seems very much on your shoulders, and there's not a lot of micromanaging and stuff like that.
No, I support my manager who is on the account. It's the two of us.
Yeah.
If anything's above my threshold that it has to be approved, I have to pass it along to her. Yeah. Directive comes from her directly. We work very closely on this job.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So it's independent in the sense that everybody at my company has their own account for the most part, unless they're not on an account. They're a method of support or transformation or transition or migration where they help accounts accomplish certain things, if that makes sense. Yeah. So in that way, yes, independence is an element, but...
No, that's good. I mean, when it comes to the people listening to this, just because so many different jobs require so many different personality types, I feel like certain people, especially like me, like I love stuff like this where you're basically left to your own. It's like obviously you have a boss, you have managers and people you're held accountable to, but you're still essentially left alone just to handle what you need to handle, as long as you're handling it.
Yeah, exactly. And generally there are things that require other people to know about it. So even in me telling them, they're like, all right, well, we're going to do it like this, which is fine because I'm a method of support.
Yeah. It's good. Okay, so do you have any like standout stories or anything that comes to mind when it's about being there for, you said, a year and a half?
Yeah, so I've been in this position for a year and a half. One that comes to mind, there's a site where we had one building where a homeless man was leaving receipts with a stream of consciousness writing that sounded like veiled threats on their front door, to the point to where we had to get a regular guard and alert the landlord where they can get someone to like patrol. They got the police involved. It felt very Ed Gould, but menacing.
That sounds very insane. Like, what do these things say? Like, do you have like a...
They had a social security number written down. They had basically what seemed to be like a saga or like it felt like an autobiography, but they were plastering or wallpapering the window, so you weren't really sure what order it was in, so it felt very disjointed, so it's hard to really get an idea of what it was. So that's why it felt like stream of consciousness. It felt like bad poetry.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's the kind of stories I was looking for. Mm-hmm. Anything else pop in your mind like that?
We had the HVAC that needed to be replaced this week, and that was a very stressful. It wasn't a very stressful week, but it was a high pressure. What was good? It's really funny because I feel so lucky that my client, and people say this, and I don't know if I believe it because they are saying it, but I do truly take great pleasure in the fact that like things aren't always very crazy because my client is such a laid back client.
That's good.
Which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're great people. They're really, really, really great people. And when things pop up, we generally get it fixed. And other stories, because that's not exciting at all. If I say
that's
things are
fine.
going
We can move
smoothly.
on to another thing.
No,
If
no,
anything
no.
pops
I'm
in your
sure
head,
there's-
let's
yeah.
go for it.
No, yeah, of course. I'll definitely think about it. I could review my notes over there because I did.
Don't worry about it. We'll come back to it because I got a few more points to make, and,
Yeah.
and then we'll get to the end of your day, and then the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, do you have any like general pet peeves about the job?
I don't like when people don't use proper punctuation in emails. I don't like when people transfer you unceremoniously without any warning.
Yes.
That actually infuriates me to the point to where I don't mind what I say while I'm hearing that whole music and who hears it, because it's really, I don't know, it feels so degrading.
No, it is. I agree with both of those things.
Yeah.
Go on.
What else? I don't like follow up. If someone says I'll call you in 5 minutes and you got to wait an hour, that's pretty maddening. Vendors who get mad at us.
What do they get mad at?
They just I got this one vendor that just he shouts when he gets cornered or prompted into an answer about the status of something. He gets super fed up with it. He'll kind of explode, and that's always been a really big pet peeve of mine. Like, there's only one person that I ever want to explode to in work, and it's my manager. In terms of like, if I'm having a moment where I need to talk something through, and I've experienced the tail end of that, where they're like, "Can I just vent to you, please? Because we both understand what we're going through, and this is so stupid." And then we just go on a big rant where I pace around the office and just shout and laugh. Because it's nice to feel authentic.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the main pet peeves, I would say. That and people who like send you invites to things without any sort of forewarning.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I've got a coworker that I work with, but we're not on the same account, and we've agreed that when we've established a buddy system where if I'm out, they'll do the morning report for me, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point where I think she's felt so comfortable in knowing that I've been saying yes every time, even though there are times where I have said no. She'll just send me an invite, and I'll be like, "You wanna warn me about that, girl?"
Yeah. Have a little heads up.
Yeah.
I get it now. Sorry, I just had that vendor stuck in my head. It's like, there's so many adults out there. It's like, this is such a very basic concept of like...
That's actually the biggest pet peeve of all, is when you realize that people overreacting at work are adults.
Yeah.
They're adults. Their parents taught them how to do things. Their parents don't tell them how to do things anymore. And yet they still act entitled sometimes and rude and... again, I've had my fair share of outbursts, but it's been with people that I trust enough to be like understanding, rather than someone who's just, client facing or, owes you something. It's adults. Yeah. Screw that.
Adults. All right. So do you have any advice for someone who would want to get into a job like this?
Learn what you can. Learn as much as you can about the technical side of things. I think that if I went into this job knowing first and foremost how an HVAC was supposed to work, I would have asked less questions.
Yeah.
I would have had to ask less questions when viewing proposals for HVAC replacements. And there are things that people tend to like. There are things that people tend to gravitate towards, obviously, in subject matter. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens, like, the trade, quote unquote, that I think I found myself kind of being more interested in than anything is locksmiths.
Yeah.
From a high security standpoint, like, there's a certain organizational structure in which you have to engage people. Yeah. But no, I would say understanding the trade more so. Being open to new technology.
That's very good. And I've noticed that in talking to people in real estate a lot. Especially in Pennsylvania, the technology is so old and so out of date, and just like, don't be afraid of the new stuff. The new stuff's good. It's there for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's better. I agree. The funny thing is, my company sometimes people say that we're a tech company with a focus in real estate. Yeah. Which is funny because when you think about it, the services that we perform are based off of growing, changing, organically developing software. Yeah, and that's cool. It's cool to think about. I think it's a positive thing. I think it's a great move in the right direction. Yeah, but what it does is it weeds out the people who aren't interested
in learning new things and don't have patience when it comes to like, the people that get really impatient at Apple stores, like those aren't the people that we want.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they need to be open and willing to try things and come up with ways to innovate those programs.
Yeah, get on the level and more importantly, learn. It's a constant, like we live in this society that is evolving insanely quickly.
Yeah.
And it's best to not get frustrated. Just get with it.
Right.
Just ride the wave.
Which is interesting because amongst all of these complicated changes, it still kind of dials back to a more simple concept of customer service.
Yeah, exactly.
For the most part, there are very few jobs that don't come from customer service or isn't customer driven in some way.
Yeah.
So wanting to do that, having a lot of energy and a can-do attitude generally gets you through the day. I've been told that that I have a positive effect.
Yeah, you're a pretty positive person.
Yeah, thank you. No, but it's good to know that feedback is receptive. Rather, it's good to know that behavior is receptive though, because there are my company loves all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So there's a place for everybody. There's a place for like the more quiet people who like to be behind a computer. There are people who like to be on the phone. I'm on the phone 85% of my day.
Okay. Yeah. If it suits you.
Yeah.
By all means.
Yep.
There is one little sidebar I'd like to go off on at my own little tangent here. Is because you brought up the customer service thing, and I do believe that there is an element of customer service that everyone should just have in daily life. But as far as your job goes, do you have people rating you or writing reviews or anything like that?
There is a VIP system where yes. So there's an end of year evaluation where you can request people to provide feedback on your performance, and that's really nice. I mean,
and these are customers, not internal.
No, they're internal people, and you could also use what people have someone someone that I work with who wasn't with the company wrote a review about the way that we presented data for them to show their customer. And I was like, yeah, great. I helped do this, so I'm going to put this in my end of year review. That was what I did. They say I was instrumental. Yeah, I was instrumental. But there's also, oh my gosh, I don't remember what the phrase is because they have such great catchphrases when it comes to these like little initiatives. It's basically just like, it's a VIP award where like you're either client-centric, people-centric, or growth-centric. And they write what you did, and you get points. And those points allow you to purchase items online on the company's marketplace.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's nice. What I was getting at is, and this is just something I've noticed. I've noticed it for a long time, but just this past year, I've noticed it moving its way into all other aspects of my life. That everything I do, and this is not work related, just anything in my life, they'll just be like, "Oh, I noticed you, I don't know, got a sandwich from Panera. Will you write a review of your..." Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I just want the food, and here's your money, and done with transaction.
What's funny about that is, yes, because people always talk about how, phones listen to what you say or are receptive to certain keywords.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of what I purchased and what I discuss, there are a lot of things on my social media that's like, hey, have you thought about going into this, looking into this because you bought this?
Yeah.
And it's a little invasive, but yeah, it's been a while since I've been asked to write a review about something like that, like a service, and I always recycle receipts to.
Well, I'm
what about
inundated.
You? What
to
do you
a
get?
Point, which is just everything in my life, and it's just a constant barrage of emails of like, will you rate this transaction? Will you rate your experience? It'll be to the point where like my phone noticed that I walked into a store. I didn't buy anything, but I was in the store like, hey, will you tell us about your experience? Or will you update our Google listing about how your experience was? I was like, no, I don't fucking work for you. Like, I just hate that it's turning, that tide is turning into the consumer has to be the reviewers of everything involved in life. Like it's complicating things to the point where it annoys me endlessly.
Well, can you imagine how else they would have gotten word of mouth if they didn't rely on other people? Like they're like just
certain things,
enthusiastically talking about themselves, hoping that people would be interested, which I suppose they already do. But engaging customers and asking them to review it. But it's really subversive and a little bit invasive.
I get from a corporate standpoint, or if you're a small business, why you would want that. But I don't need 3 separate emails, 3 separate days about the service I got because I bought a book that was 25 years old from eBay. I paid $2 for it. Like, what do you want from me? Can I just have the thing? Can we just have a simple transaction? All right, bad sidebar.
So what you're saying is that customer-centric things tend to get way too into the fine details, which kind of come across as, I mean, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and more of my point was it's bleeding into things that it shouldn't be bleeding into. That's what I mean. Because there are legitimate businesses that need good reviews, and it helps their performance and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the little, like, constant, like...
So
I noticed you drove by the bank. How did you like the bank? Did you take a picture of the bank?
I don't think I've ever... Oh, well, I guess I've never seen Google do that. Google does that?
Google does a lot of that to me.
I remember when I was using Google Maps, and it would ask me, did you get to where you needed to take a picture to confirm?
That's another one.
But that never felt like a review. But I suppose it did. In a way, it was a review.
That's what it is. They want people to like... Did you make it to your destination? Yes, of course I made it to my destination. Why do you need me to write about it? And it goes back to what I said. It's like, I don't work for you. I don't do that. I know that this is a nice platform. I appreciate your service.
Leave me alone.
It's like, just ripping my hair out, just constant. Just it's like asking for favors. It's like every person you interacted with in the day just was like, hey, will you tell people that you like me? It's that. Like every person that you ran into in the course of a day just started to hit you up for like a compliment.
You ever seen that Black Mirror episode, Nosedive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of getting into that.
Except the like the surprise ending is that what she's looking for all along is that 20-mile long CVS receipt that says review us at the bottom.
Absolutely insane. So let's wrap your day up and then we'll get into some of the fun stuff.
Sure.
This is always my favorite part.
Yeah.
So the end of your work day is when?
5 p.m., 4:30 to 5 is usually. It depends on the activity of the day. I don't like to wait around for something to happen to that point.
Yeah.
Like if I'm working on stuff, and I'm always working on stuff, or I always should be working on stuff sometimes. But who hasn't?
Yeah.
Who if there's something going on, I'll leave around 4:30. If not, if I have to stay, I'll stay. But generally, 4:45, 5 o'clock is the most frequent time that I leave, I'd say.
Okay. Now, is there a punch-out situation?
No.
Or you just good. I like that. Just in and out.
Yep.
Get the job done.
It's a very relaxed schedule. I can take lunch whenever I want, for how long I want. I can leave early if there's an event. If I have a doctor's appointment, I'll leave early.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that freedom, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you leave at 4:35. What are you doing?
Hey, honestly?
Yeah, just give me
walk
your day.
out the door and hit my pen and wait for the bus. And then that's when I listen to podcasts.
Or what are you listening to?
On a nice sunny day, as a good friend has recommended to me recently, I've been listening to a podcast called Small Town Murder.
Oh yeah, I love those.
Yeah, and that's always a good time. It's always fun to laugh about things that people don't realize you're laughing about amongst a crowd of people.
Absolutely.
Or I will listen to another true crime podcast, My Favorite Murder.
My Favorite Murder.
Or I'll just listen to random pieces of music. But generally, it's this summer. It's been a podcasts.
Good. I like that. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll just kind of. I was gonna say we can kind of skip over your evening, but dinner. What are you doing for dinner? I mean, sometimes you said you do the other half of the bird's eye thing, but you have another routine.
Sometimes I repeat what I made for lunch, but generally I make 2 different kinds of protein that allow me to have some diversity in my day.
Okay.
Diversity, some variety, I should say, some diversity. Oh God, can you imagine? Yeah, and I mean generally it's a salad with some kind of protein on it and maybe some extra vegetables, and I do that while watching Netflix.
All right. Anything good you're watching right now? I was looking for recommendations.
I really loved Planet Earth. Our Planet. Is
it similar?
It's the new David Attenborough document, like nature series.
Oh, okay.
It's really quite gorgeous. Unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it's probably one of the first things that have really got me into nature docs. So that's really good. Bonding is hysterical. Have you ever heard of Bonding? It's a gay guy and his friend who he recently realizes is a dominatrix. Just go through life, and they're like 15-20 minute episodes. What I wonder if you've heard of before, and I haven't watched it enough because it's almost made me uncomfortable, but like I know that's also humor that you appreciate. Have you seen I Think You Should Leave?
I think you should leave. Oh, yeah, that's on my list. I haven't started it yet, but yeah, it's on there.
It's so uncomfortable. I love it. It's to the point to where you want to leave, but you can't help but not press pause because you have to see how this goes, because then the episode will finally be over.
Yeah, I just finished the new season of Easy. You seen any of that?
Easy. Why does that sound familiar?
It's on Netflix, regardless. But yeah, there's a lot of like uncomfortable couple fighting. I don't know why I like that so much.
You like couples fighting?
It's a realistic fight, and yeah, every episode's like different characters, so like it's not. They're all it.
So are you saying that? So this is me going back to my theater background a little bit. Is this you saying that Easy as a show is more successful at depicting human people like normal conversations that people have versus things that you'd see in like, I don't know, Charmed and CSI?
Yeah, I like that very raw, like
honest.
These guys are having
personal.
a very insane conversation, but it's very much real and uncomfortable at some points, but regardless, I recommend it. I think it.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Okay, so Netflix wrapping up the evening. What time do you usually go to bed?
Oh my God, this is the embarrassing thing. Is I usually aim to have my side light on, which means I'm going to bed in the next half an hour at 8:30.
8:30.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I'm not always successful, and I'm always reminded I have to go to bed. And I'd say I usually fall asleep around 9:30, 10 at the latest. So I'm in bed by 9 at the very latest.
Mm-hmm.
And
all right. So the late night ritual. Do you have any things that you do that help you go to bed?
Well, yes. Recently, I've started listening to a podcast where this is kind of sad. I really like this podcast because I think the subject matter is fascinating. It's Greek mythology.
Okay.
But this speaker is not a great speaker.
Huh.
So she's, I'll just say whatever. It's a she. There's only one of two options. Well, no, that's not true. That is not true. But that is not true.
Plug it positively or negatively.
No. Well, I'm also not going to be the one to talk about gender and pronouns because I really
Whatever.
think everyone's
We don't
entitled
need
to
to
their
go
own
down
opinions
that
anyway. She has such a soft voice that it's easy to fall asleep to.
So wait, so you're saying she has a good voice for that?
No, she does not have a good voice. Well, she doesn't have a good voice for a podcast, but it's good to fall asleep to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. Have you ever listened to Dan Carlin?
No.
His Hardcore History, and he...
I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah,
you recommend it?
It's a great podcast, but also he just has such a good voice. Like he's one of I'd say my top podcast to fall asleep to. It's very soothing, even though a lot of the subject matter is really dark. But and I love like just a good history lesson like this.
I'll have to do that. Part of me was hoping that falling asleep to Greek myth podcast would make me dream about things like that.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid and I ended up listening to like the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban audio tape while I was going to bed, I would have slightly Harry Potter related dreams. But now, no Greek myth dreams yet. Haven't been eaten by a sphinx yet.
Well, keep at it.
Yeah, there's still time.
It'll happen eventually.
Yeah, there's still time.
All right. So, do you have anything to add to that to wrap up the career? Any thoughts? Anything that you could put out there in the world?
Honestly, I never thought I would go into this field, and I was foolish enough to think that I would pursue a liberal arts degree forever. Personally speaking.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that no matter what you do and what you specialize in, there are always applicable or matching skill sets in other fields if it doesn't go well. So not succeeding in a certain field of study does not mean that you can't transfer things over and still, make a point and be present and have people enjoy your company and have an impact.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was very surprised when people were really very receptive to me saying I have a theater degree and I'm very animated and I think I'm eloquent and I communicate well and I'm organized, and people are like, yeah.
And that translates to other things. I think that's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, I'll leave it with this. There was an interview where I was trying to get a job out of the call center, and I had to equate dramaturgy, the name of my degree, to customer service. I was like, theater history is like customer service in XYZ, which clearly is not real. It's not a logical argument. But based on the way that I framed it, it made sense. And it just, if you think of it in that way, you'll feel less limited in options when there are none.
Yes. And I think that's exactly what people are looking for when they want to listen to these. It's just like they're lost, they need a new path, they don't know what that is yet, so let's explore other people's jobs. All right, so it was a perfect way to end that segment. Now on to the fun stuff. What is your ideal breakfast?
My ideal
We're talking like vacation, have whatever you want.
I would say bagels and lox usually.
Okay.
I can get me even more detailed if you want, but because
go into it. That's what people want. They
it's an everything bagel, some usually plain cream cheese, good lox, a lot of lox on it. Like I'm not brushing my teeth after. It's that good. Onions, yeah, we're going there. Red onions specifically, and cucumbers, capers, and generally the bagels toasted.
So the whole shebang. All right, I like it. What's the best advice you ever got?
Recently, stop taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah, good advice. I like that. What movie do you think you've seen the most?
Ooh, Moulin Rouge.
Okay. What's your biggest fear?
I don't love heights, as I've come to realize.
Okay.
We'll end there.
As good as answer as any. Any candy in the world, what would you have?
Ooh, any candy in the world. Recently I loved Starburst, but historically I would say Twix has been a pretty heavy contender.
Make a note, historically, Twix?
Historically.
Okay, no, those are good. Childhood hero.
So funny story about that.
Go on.
I failed my summer health class's final project about our role model because I said I didn't have one because I looked up to myself.
Hey, look at that.
I don't know if that was completely true.
I still like that it happened.
I know, but I failed. Role model as a kid, Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
And my mom. But mostly me.
What kind of soap do you use?
Generally, it actually changes from time to time depending on what's the cheapest.
Okay, cheapest. That works as an answer.
Available.
If someone gave your 18-year-old self $1,000, what would you do with it?
Ooh, my 18,000. I'd dye my hair.
Yeah?
Well, maybe, I don't know. You definitely wouldn't be able to spend.
Yeah, I would say, what about the other 900 and some bucks?
Yeah, 900 some bucks. Probably would have gotten a computer.
Yeah.
With the rest.
What about now? Someone gave you $1,000 now, tax free. It's all yours. Do whatever you want.
Plane trip to London because they're like $1,200, and I've been trying to do it, and it just never feels right to spend that much money on a ride.
There you go. 200 more bucks. You're there.
I know.
Biggest pet peeve in life.
In life, people who are rude on the phone.
Yeah, I agree with that. Fuck those people. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Dead. No, just kidding. I don't know. Married, I think.
Okay.
Married and somewhere warm.
Yes. That's, yeah, I like that very
Yeah.
much. Tipping custom.
20 or more.
Good. Like that. Something you'd wish you learned earlier.
How to have fun.
How to have fun?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I feel like I took everything too seriously for such a huge portion of my time in life. And I think it's kept me from enjoying simple things because even the simple things I would overanalyze. And still do. So I think I still have trouble lightening up.
But that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's insightful. I like that. Childhood celebrity crush.
Ooh. Oh. Okay, do you remember the band Dream Street?
Vaguely.
There was a Chris Trousdale was his name, but I was I think I printed like 20 photos from my mother's like brand new color printer when I was young and just like taped it with Scotch tape around my room in like a weird kind of like gallery style where it didn't obviously didn't work. None of them were framed and they were all 8x11 or 8.5x11. But Chris Trousdale from Dream Street.
Very specific answer.
Looking back on it, I don't know what I saw on him, but that's okay.
That's all right. We'll pull up some photo references later.
You have an Instagram page? We'll put it on there.
Yeah, we'll post it up on there. What's one thing that you would change about yourself?
Like, you mean...
I mean, like anything, like magically, anything.
Magically. I would want to be able to see myself, like, as physically fit as I want to be.
Okay.
Like, I want to be happy with the progress that I have.
Okay. Yeah.
For those who don't know, I work out a lot, and I'm very critical about it. So I think having more acceptance, giving myself more acceptance.
You're very fit.
Thank you. But I again, you talk about insight. I know that I am critical of things and myself enough to not be truly satisfied with progress.
I think a lot of people have that
sure,
issue.
And I hope people do, because I think it's important to have that kind of conversation.
Absolutely. Hardest time you ever laughed?
Ooh, probably with my twin sister. There was one time where we both tried to scare each other from two different corners, and we scared each other in the process. But that was years ago.
What do you mean? Elaborate a little bit.
No, like my sister and I would get into fights. We bicker all the time. We might as well have been a married couple. Side note: my mom went to a psychic once, and this woman said that we were married. We were a married couple in a past life.
Interesting.
Which would make sense given the way that we talk to one another. And I think 20 minutes after we had an argument, we stormed off. We both knew where the other person was. And we just tried to so imagine you're going imagine you're going up to a corner.
Yeah.
But how do you even describe that?
Just approaching.
You're approaching a corner that's the corner of a building, and one person's coming one way and you're going the other way. So this is inside a house.
Yeah.
And we both scare each other and we both scream bloody murder and laughed. Yeah, I think usually when I'm with my sister, that's when I'm laughing the most.
Okay. Yeah, that works. I like that. Guilty pleasure.
I love jerking off.
As guilty as it comes.
Yeah, I think that's the basis of guilty pleasures. That and I always feel really great when I get ice cream, and I don't do it very often.
Ice cream, yeah. Jerking off and ice cream.
Jerking off and ice cream.
What type of music do you like and why?
I like all music, but I love things that have a disco or a soul influence. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because my dad used to play a lot of blues when I was a kid, and I picked up on the more dramatic side of blues, the more flamboyant side of it, or I mean, I'm really sensitive to music. I've come to realize in life, and I take simple joy in feeling moved by music.
Yeah. And
disco just happens to be one of those things that moves me.
Yeah, I like that. What's something you're bad at?
I'm really impatient.
Impatient?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Really, really impatient. And I think I could stand to get much better at being patient.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
Make it count. If you could do anything as a job, what would it be?
I would travel, 100%. I don't care how many hours I spend at an airport. I want to see everything that I possibly can. That's always something that I knew I wanted. With a job, if you know that you want to find something you know that you want, this job will allow me to do it one day. I want to be able to travel with work.
I like it. Simple and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's a mix of... If you can't mix your personal life and your work life, then you're not going to feel authentic.
Exactly. You got to love what you do.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to end. Thanks for doing the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.